prohibits a licensed gun dealer from selling a shotgun or rifle or ammunition to anyone under 18. But when it comes to simply possessing a long gun, there's no age restriction, at least at the federal level. Mike, I want you to jump in on this. Is that right? I mean, should we have a situation where kids can't purchase the things? So we say, okay, we don't want children to purchase these kinds of long guns, but they can possess them, and there's no age requirement.
But it's up to the parents. If you're under 18, first of all, we're talking about kids. What's the definition of the age of a child? Okay, 18, we regulate, for 18, you can be charged as an adult. But you go overseas, you fight, you can't buy a gun, that's another issue. But the whole thing comes down to, if you're under 18, you're still maybe living in your parents' house, like this young man was. Why didn't his parents educate him in safe handling of a firearm? The NRA has a program called First Steps Rifle. And listen to what it says on their website. To provide beginning shooters with an introduction to the knowledge, skills, and attitude necessary to own and use a specific rifle model safely. Did his parents do this? No. And, you know, there are some parents out there who, you know, do they use the best common sense? No, but you can't legislate, you can't make laws for common sense.
And you talk about gun safety. The state of Florida provides free courses, essentially. Sonny, I'm going to get right to you, but I want to just show our viewers this. They provide gun safety, is the state of Florida, for children from kindergarten to 5th grade. Now, this one surprised me a little bit. It's called Learn Gun Safety, Outdoor Ethics, and Wildlife Conservation with Barney. I guess that's the character they use. And when the children complete the course, they receive a certificate proving they're ready to hunt and fish safely. And Noel touched on this earlier. You know, some people like to hunt and fish with guns. Sonny, if you give them safety programs and the parents are responsible for bringing kids through the safety programs, is that enough to allow kids to possess guns?
Look, this whole conversation is absurd, as far as I'm concerned. What good reason would it be to have a kindergartner, a 5th grader, anyone under the age of 18 handling, possessing, using a gun? What, because people like to hunt? I mean, are we in Little House on the Prairie times? Don't most people go to the supermarket and buy groceries?
Not everybody lives in Manhattan, Sonny.
Why do children, I don't live in Manhattan either.
Well, you are in Westchester County. Why
do children have to have guns? What's the purpose? I mean, you take one case like this where you've got a 15-year-old kid, life over, promise gone. That, in and of itself, to me, is enough.
That has nothing to do with hunting, Sonny.
That one death is enough
that
tells me anyone under the age of 18 doesn't need to have a gun. And in response to the nonsensical argument of, oh, well, we send guys overseas and women overseas to fight, maybe we shouldn't do that either. Maybe we shouldn't do that either.
Well, yesterday, Sonny, you said that my father
lived in a world.
Hold on, no, go ahead. Go ahead, Noel.
Sure. It'd be great if we lived in a world without guns, and I agree with the gun control proponents that, you know, the world would be a better place without guns. But unfortunately, that's not the world we live in. The world we live in is a very dangerous world. You know, we're sitting here talking about guns, and, you know, and I heard someone talk about what exactly are the ages of the children. Well, the CDC I did a query from 1 to 17. I think that pretty much covers the spectrum. And in 2009, we had, from firearm-related deaths in total, we had like... for unintended accidents was about 82. We had approximately, or excuse me.
That's one too many, isn't it?
We had 82. Yeah, it is.
Many.
But we had 2,000 deaths, over 2,000 deaths from car accidents. In 2009, this year alone, we've had 5,000 people killed from teenagers texting. So if you ask me, the automobiles are much more dangerous if we look at the statistics provided by the CDC.
You're comparing apples with elephants, sir.
automobiles.
You're comparing apples with elephants. One has nothing to do with
All right, let me jump in,
guys.
Guys, hold on. Let me jump in. We're going to have more time to talk about this after the break. Just stay right where you are. Keep the points in your head, and we'll be right back. Folks, keep it right here.
While I was looking down the sights, all of a sudden I seen Ashley step right in front of the end of the barrel with her mouth wide open, and in a split second, I heard a loud sound. It sounded like a book smacking the ground or something. I didn't even think Ashley had been shot. And then then another reason was because she was just standing there for a minute, and she was just looking at me, and then she fell to the ground.
You know, you see something like that, and it makes your heart break, and then you wonder, should children have guns? And so that's what we're talking about, children and guns. I'm joined by Noel Flasterstein, an NRA referral attorney and gun rights advocate, also Lad Everett. He's with the Coalition to Stop Gun Violence, and he's an advocate for gun violence prevention. Also, Sonny Hostin, Mike Brooks with us. Noel, let me start with you. Sonny was addressing the point of the comparison. You were making the comparison to the low number of gun-related mishandling, I should say, deaths, as compared to driving with young people and aquatic deaths, things like that. But we also made the point a little bit earlier about, is one death too many? So when you look at a situation like this, I want to get your take on this, Noel. What do we do if you're saying, hey, you know what, children, young people can have guns? What do we need to do to make sure they stay safe? Because I think Sonny makes a good point of if there's even one death with a child, we have to at least figure out what to do to make sure nothing like this happens again.
Well, one of the things he commented, he says there were no laws that that hold parents responsible, and you know, that's just incorrect. I mean, Florida statute, you can look it up. 79.174 requires the safe storage of weapons where a person knows or reasonably should know that a minor or child's going to have access to it. And if a child gets that weapon, I assure you that person is held responsible. So their laws are in place. Parents do have a responsibility, and it's their choice. Some parents don't want their children to be exposed or to have firearms. Fine, that's your choice. But don't tell me or any of my other gun-owning fellow Americans who believe in the Constitution that we don't have a right. Especially, we got to remember, we're talking about car accidents and drowning. Driving a car is a privilege. There is no constitutional right to it. But firearm ownership, Second Amendment right, there's a reason we have it. Our founding fathers and mothers realized that, our system, whether you like it or not, our founding fathers and mothers designed our system where the people could own firearms in the event that a tyrannical government should come into play.
I understand that, and I just want to jump in on you here. You mentioned the car, and I say to myself, at least internally, I'm saying, well, people can't drive cars until they're 16. I asked you this question earlier because I want to get a sense of this. If a child has the right kind of training, if a child understands where the safety is, if a child knows about guns, are you saying here that someone a lot younger than 18 should be able to handle a firearm?
If he has adult supervision. I don't think a child who has been properly instructed and is well-versed in the proper handling of a firearm should be allowed to go hunting in the woods at age 12, 13, 14, 15, or 16, at any age.
Why
in fact,
not?
he needs to have adult supervision.
Go ahead, Sonny.
Because that's what the law provides. And you talk about, children should never have firearms. Well, why don't you tell that to the Jewish kids who watched the Nazis take their parents out who couldn't have a firearm? Maybe if they had a firearm,
that's a ridiculous argument.
First thing Hitler did.
That's ridiculous argument.
It's a historical
you need
fact.
to go back to the Wild Wild West
Hitler
because that's where you're more comfortable. That's ridiculous.
Wild Wild West.
That's a ridiculous
Average
argument.
cowboy death from a shootout was one a month. One a month.
All right, guys, hold on.
Hold
on. Noel, I understand your point. Sonny, go ahead. Make your point.
Well, I'm glad you understand the point, Ryan, because I don't understand the point.
Can I interject here for a minute?
But you're talking about it.
Yes, please.
All right.
So why talk about something you don't understand?
All right. No, you gotta stop. I understand what you're trying to say, but I have to let Sonny jump in and give a response.
Understood.
No, I'd like our guest, Ryan, to respond.
Look, I mean, listening to Noel, you can understand why we haven't been able to make progress in this country on protecting children from gun violence. I mean, he's sitting there talking about 18-year-olds need to own guns so that if our government becomes quote-unquote tyrannical, they can shoot and kill our elected officials. That's pretty much where the NRA and ALEC have dragged the gun debate in this country. Now, this kid putting a rifle on the back of his bedroom door has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. The man who wrote the Second Amendment was a Federalist, James Madison. He drafted the Constitution for the express purpose of strengthening the federal government, not emaciating it. And unfortunately, the NRA, with their radical insurrectionist ideology, arm yourselves against your government, they care more about that nonsense, more about those conspiracy theories than protecting 15-year-old girls like Ashley that
What about
should
the
be with
safety
us today. We
programs?
shouldn't be having this conversation.
All right, and Mike brings up a good point, by the way. Just a second here. Now, I understand we're talking about all these other larger arguments, but Mike, make the final point about safety here, because that's what we're really here for.
Look, yesterday,
I want to make sure that under no circumstances a kid ever died like this because a young person is handling
Yesterday,
a gun.
Sonny said it was absurd that my father, when I was 13-year-old, took me to a gun safety class and let me shoot his .22 caliber gun that I grew up with, and let me know that it was not a toy. That's absurd? Well, I take offense to that, Sonny. That's not absurd. That's responsible parents.
Mike Brooks.
That's responsible parents. But you know what that course I went to? Let me finish, Sonny. Let me finish, Sonny. It was an NRA course that I went to, and I learned how to responsibly handle a firearm, and I went all the way through my law enforcement profession for 26 years. So, you know what? It worked for me.
Sonny, go ahead.
Absurd, Mr. Mike Brooks.
Whatever you say, counselor.
All right. Fiery discussion indeed. Lad, thank you so much. We appreciate Noel as well. His signal dropped out. Sonny, Mike. But this is how fiery this issue is, folks. When it comes to protecting our kids, when it comes to guns, you can see there's a lot of different opinions. We'll be right back with more.